What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. Hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you are enjoying the NBA draft. The WNBA, saw we had a comment in the last video promoting the WNBA. That's right, the WNBA is going on. It's a different part of the sports calendar, obviously, but it is the final home stretch until we get to Dallas Cowboys training camp. Of course, the report date for that July 24th, which means we have less than a month to go. This is, in case you did not know, I don't know how that would be the case, but if you didn't, the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel, the most subscribed to individual team channel across all of the SB Nation universe. If you have not yet, please consider subscribing, liking the video, and of course, telling every single person that you have ever known about this channel. That would make me very happy. Who am I? Like I told you at the beginning, I'm RJ Ochoa. If you like what I do, I cover the Dallas Cowboys. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or Threads at RJ Ochoa, on TikTok at RJ.Ochoa. If you want to send me an email, you can do that. rj.ochoa@sbnation.com is how you do it. And if you want to leave a comment down below, I will do my very best to get to those as well. In case you did not know, for the last couple of weeks now, I've been doing something I do every year here on the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel, and that is our roster breakdown series. In the lead up to training camp, I've timed these things out to, pace ourselves and get us to training camp kind of as we finish the whole thing. We're looking at the Dallas Cowboys roster position by position. We've already done the entire offense. You can look at every single video, obviously, in our channel feed if you want to go to that here on YouTube, but you can also click the video links in the description down below. I've placed them each for you there. I've also placed the articles that I've written on each position because I've been writing about this as well. So assessing, analyzing, discussing every position group in fine detail on the Cowboys so that when we get to training camp, we are all caught up and ready for the Cowboys to begin what is hopefully their quest towards Lombardi number 6. I know I've heard all of the jokes. I mentioned that we had wrapped up the offensive side of the ball, and that takes us to the defensive side of the ball. We are getting started with the pass rushers. The edge rushers is where we are starting here today. Today, in case you did not know, the day I'm putting this together for you at least, is Thursday, June 27th, 2024. If this is the first time you've stumbled upon these, I drop them every Tuesday and Thursday here on the channel, but obviously you can access them at your own convenience. I will be writing, as mentioned, about this at bloggingtheboys.com. It is not out. The videos come out first so that we can put them in the articles, et cetera, et cetera. But, in due time, make sure you check that out. And if you follow me on social media, I'll make sure to blast out the links to those whenever we get there. But that being said, let's go ahead and get to it and take a look at the edge rushers on the Cowboys. Now, I've been, a little cute, I guess. This is the way I'm sorting things. These are my starters. This is the way, primary depth is a category I came up with. More is a word that I came up with. For what it's worth, I have placed Junior Foko here, the second-year, fourth-round player for the Cowboys. I know that some people view him as a defensive tackle, but we're going to be talking about him here, so we will not be talking about him when we get to the defensive tackle, video and article, throughout the rest of this series. Similarly, Byron Vaughn, who you see in the more category, a new player on the Cowboys, obviously. You could put him in the linebacker mix if you want. I've decided to slot him here, so just, we're getting to a part of the roster where sometimes players line up in different places, whatever the case may be. And so it's difficult to put them in one spot when we do something like this, an exercise like this. But so you are aware. Anyway, let's get to our starters here. And first up, Micah Parsons, arguably the best player on the Dallas Cowboys, arguably the best defensive player on the Dallas Cowboys. I wrote a different article, actually, that is coming out later today for me on Thursday. It depends on when you're watching this. It might not be out yet. It's coming out Thursday at 5, I think, Central, so 6 Eastern. This could be Micah Parsons' defensive player of the year season. It's something, that I think is possible. I tweeted about this. He is currently tied for the best odds to win the award. He has never won the award. And the reason I think it's, potentially going to be his, outside of the fact that he's tied for the best odds to do so at the moment over at DraftKings Sportsbook, is it is a very, very, very difficult thing to win Defensive Player of the Year multiple times. It has only happened 3 times this century. Ray Lewis, J.J. Watt, and Aaron Donald are the 3 players who have won multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards since the year 2000. Now, both J.J. Watt and Aaron Donald did it in consecutive seasons, so that's not to rule out Myles Garrett, but Myles Garrett has one, T.J. Watt has one, Nick Bosa has one. Of the players with the best odds near the top in that list I referenced over at DraftKings Sportsbook, the players, again, at the top who don't have a Defensive Player of the Year award so far throughout their career are only Micah Parsons and Max Crosby. So if Micah has a similar season, if he puts up somewhere around 12 sacks, obviously if he has some flashy moments, if the Cowboys are a team that wins somewhere between 10 and 12 games, and I think we all think those things are well within the realm of possibility, it could be Micah's turn outside of obviously any one of these other players. And you could throw in Josh Allen. I mean, there's a lot of players that could kind of come out of nowhere. Will Anderson, whatever. It stands to reason that he could take this home, and that would make negotiating with him. And this is something I've been talking a lot about throughout the course of the offseason. Very, very difficult next offseason. The Cowboys would now no longer be negotiating with Micah in the first window of opportunity. They would have delayed it a year, and they would potentially be negotiating with him coming off of what would then be the best individual season that he has ever turned in for the team, much like the position they currently find themselves in with CeeDee Lamb, even though CeeDee did not win what would be Offensive Player of the Year. But nevertheless, this is about Micah's positional relevance to the Cowboys, and there's not really anything I can say that is new. He's a starter, duh. He's amazing, duh. As noted, he is maybe the best player on the team relative to what he does, relative to his individual job. He is arguably the best defensive player in the NFL. I know that some people, feel whatever way about his podcasting, things like that. I really do admire that Micah is doing everything he can to maximize his value, maximize his earning potential while the stove is hot, while he is a hot player and a hot option in the NFL, because we have seen when you step away, when you walk away from the game, I mean, it is a very quick, sort of transition for you to fade into the night. And so it has not obviously impacted Micah's performance on the field. Everything about who he has been over the course of his first 3 years, proves that he is a rare bird. He is one of one. Now, what I would argue is that Micah has, throughout the course of his career, made the exceptional feel very normal. And this is something that we've talked a lot about in different shows, in different moments, or whatever the case may be. Now, if we have a game where Micah doesn't have a Super Saiyan moment, where he doesn't have 2 sacks, it feels so disappointing. It feels so boring. And he has changed the expectation. He has changed the norm. And that is a really impressive thing that obviously speaks to who Micah is. So kudos to him. But, who he is and his spot on the roster kind of speak for themselves. Similarly to his wingman, I will tell you something I wrote in the article. I wrote that Demarcus Lawrence is not the Robin to Micah's Batman, but rather the Qui-Gon to Micah's Obi-Wan. I was very proud of that when I thought of it. Demarcus Lawrence, it was 10 years ago that he was a rookie on this team. Rookie second-round draft pick out of Boise State, had that crazy moment in the wild card win over the Detroit Lions against Matthew Stafford, and then the other crazy moment. He has proven to be just such an incredible player for this team with now a decade served. And you think about it, he is on the verge of becoming Tony Romo and Jason Witten and Des Bryant and Tyron Smith, Travis Frederick, the list goes on and on. These all-time great players who played for the team over the course of the last 10 to 15 years, obviously throughout the entire drought, that may spend their entire careers, not just in the NFL, but with the Dallas Cowboys without winning it all. And I know we all obviously don't want that to be the case for him or his fellow draftee in 2014, Zach Martin, but Demarcus is amazing. And again, he has survived and kind of thrived throughout all these changes. I mean, he has seen all sorts of defensive coordinators and defensive schemes and defensive alignments and defensive philosophies. I mean, we're talking about, he survived all the Chris Richard stuff. And even at the very beginning of everything, obviously, the Tampa 2 stuff, and whatever. I mean, now he is, again, I think, he has become really underrated, and this is something I've talked a lot about on the NFC's Mixtape, a show that I used to do with Brandon Lee Gowton, and I hope to do someday in the future. We'll see about that, obviously, as those things continue to remain under construction. But Tank Lawrence is one of the more underrated players in the NFL. He is one of the best run-defending edge rushers, pass rushers, defensive ends, whatever you want to call him, however you want to classify him. When it comes to stopping the run, he is one of the very best in the NFL, the vocal leader of the Dallas Cowboys defense. It is impressive, the career that he has carved out. And, I recognize that there's 2 camps generally on the subject of Dak Prescott, but even if you don't want Dak Prescott to be the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, I don't think even you can disagree that Dak has made an enormous amount of money from the Dallas Cowboys because he has played his cards right? Like if you look at things from just a financial perspective, Demarcus Lawrence doesn't get the same sort of credit. He did that. He stared the franchise tag down and he won as well. So Demarcus Lawrence has managed to kind of year in and year out just remain excellent. And for that, I think that we are all very, very grateful as Dallas Cowboys fans. So, okay, that's our starters, right? That goes without saying. So let's take a look once again at our overall group, and that takes us to the primary depth portion of the conversation. So that being said, I don't mean to be dramatic about this, but the Dallas Cowboys defense is going to depend significantly and arguably critically on Sam Williams. Dorrance Armstrong is gone, and that means Sam Williams is now up and in the fold, and the third man, the kind of 6th man off the bench, if you will. That's not a perfect analogy because, he's the third player relative to the defensive end position, but he is that first person in, obviously, when Demarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons are out. And obviously, there's a lot of ways things can be worked here. And Sam has had his fair share of, penalties and moments that I think, all agree he could have, done something different that would have been preferred from a team perspective. This is year three for a second round draft pick. And the Cowboys, the Dorrance Armstrong walking and the Dan Quinn of it all, like some of those circumstances are what they are. But the Cowboys clearly, at least partly, from a thought perspective, may have let Dorrance Armstrong walk because they believe in Sam Williams. And that's fair, right? It's not absurd to say, oh, the second round draft pick from 2 years ago. Yeah, we're counting on him, making a bit of a leap here in 2024. And if he does, then, this pass rush group that we've seen have a lot of success over the last few years, obviously throughout that Dan Quinn 3-year run, if Sam Williams is able to kind of, hold the fort, if you will, everything remains copacetic. Everything remains the same. And that is obviously the goal and the overall desire. But if he doesn't, if he regresses, or if there are the same kind of penalty issues and whoopsies or whatever the case may be, now you're talking about a group that will see some sort of aggression, because Micah Parsons and Demarcus Lawrence, as talented as they are, they can only do so much as two players on a group or within a group that has to kind of be great in the overall. But if Sam Williams is the new Dorrance Armstrong, that means we have to find a new Sam Williams, and that person is second round draft pick Marshawn Kneeland. I'm very excited about Marshon. I think we all are, and the Cowboys must be, because they spent their second round draft pick on him in a moment where defensive end wasn't the most pressing concern. It definitely was, I think, entering the NFL draft, and we obviously talked about this, but it's hard to kind of feel or assess where the opportunities are going to come for Marshawn Kneeland on one hand, because you do have Micah and Tank and Sam Williams, but then you think about, well, Dorrance Armstrong's gone and Dante Fowler's gone. And I don't mean to make, a mountain out of those molehills, and not to even call them molehills, but those were valuable parts of the rotation for the Dallas Cowboys. And I haven't even mentioned Mike Zimmer at this point, and so much depends on how he wants to kind of deploy his pass rushers and his edge rushers and what he wants to do and how he wants to attack opposing offenses and things like that. But and relative to overall defensive linemen, and we'll certainly get here in the next video next week when we do defensive tackles and Mozzie Smith. But this is going to kind of come down to how Mike Zimmer views everything from his perspective. That being said, Marshawn Kneeland may not offer a ton to the Cowboys throughout his rookie season, and that's not a slight against him. Again, I think Sam Williams is a good comp because he landed on the Cowboys 2 years ago when they had just brought Dorrance Armstrong back. They obviously had Micah Parsons and Demarcus Lawrence. He managed to have a couple of moments that were obviously impressive in that 2022 year, but it's safe to say that there won't be a ton of moments, a ton of opportunities for Marshawn Kneeland relative to regular season and hopefully playoff games. Now, Micah and Demarcus Lawrence are both, well-earned veterans, so it's very possible that we see them get some kind of veteran days throughout the process of training camp, whether it's the Oxnard version or the Frisco version. And so in that sense, I think Marshawn Kneeland could be a really strong benefit, and it will be a lot of fun if and when we do get to see him go up against Tyler Guyton, the only player in this draft class who was selected ahead of him relative to the Cowboys draft class, that is. That will be fun, but it is still a bit of a thing that remains to be seen. So this takes us to the last individual player that we're going to be discussing before we look at the group from a whole one last time, and that's Junior Foko, who is in his second season with the Cowboys as a fourth-round draft pick. And we still don't know a ton about Junior Foko, and that's okay. That's not worth panicking over, anything like that. But you look at it and he's maybe, if you're talking about him as a defensive end, as a pass rusher, as an edge rusher, maybe the fifth option, obviously. So there aren't a lot of, snaps to go around in general, especially if Mike Zimmer doesn't utilize a platoon sort of thing the way that Dan Quinn did. But, this is not and this is what I wrote in the article. This is not a critical training camp for Junior Foko. I don't think his roster spot's in jeopardy or anything like that. But this is the kind of training camp that we'll look back on, right? Whether it's a year or 2 years from now, and saying, man, you know what? Junior Foko he really needed to impress in 2024, and he didn't. And so, it's a fourth-round draft pick, and so I'm not making it out to seem like you have to impact right away. But it's your second season now. And given that, you've kind of underwhelmed, and some of that is whatever, now has to be the time where you kind of separate yourself and you prove the scouting department and the front office and everybody, obviously, who liked the pick, you prove them right. So we will see. But, obviously it is it's, I don't know what to expect. I don't know that anybody knows what to expect from Junior Foko, where you have a lot of questions. And hopefully this year we start to get some sort of answers. So, okay, that takes us to the final three players on the page here within the Dallas Cowboys roster. As mentioned, Byron Vaughns could be classified as a linebacker, but Darrell Johnson, Tyrus Sweet, even if you do consider there to be questions around Junior Foko and what his season may look like with the Dallas Cowboys, there's no question about the top of this roster, right? Micah Parsons, Demarcus Lawrence, Sam Williams, Marshawn Kneeland. The top four are ironclad, set in stone. Junior Foko is, pretty set as that fifth name. And so that means that the rest of these players are really kind of struggling for opportunities, right? And that's where maybe Byron Vaughns has a larger opportunity at linebacker, but it is going to be difficult to kind of, wedge in and take away whether it's Junior Fahoko spot, or you won't be able to take anybody else's away is kind of my point. And so Jarrell Johnson, Tyree Sweet, Byron Vaughns, all due respect, these are going to be names that we see a lot throughout preseason. And somebody's going to have a moment, if somebody gets to go up against Terrence Steele or something like that in practice, in a one-on-one, whatever, you're gonna have to shock somebody. You're gonna have to find a way to say, whoa, who's this dude? We need to know more. We need to learn more. We need to see more, et cetera, because on paper, it is an uphill battle for everybody in that more category. That is the state of the pass rusher, edge rusher group for the Dallas Cowboys, with training camp now about a month away, not quite, but a little bit less than, which is a very, very exciting thing. This was, of course, the latest installment in our Dallas Cowboys roster breakdown series here at Blog of the Boys. You can see all the videos that I've done on this subject as mentioned in the description down below. I've linked to each and every video that has happened so far. This is our first foray onto the defense, and you can also read the article versions of what I've done as well. That is further down below in the description. You can read the article version of this position probably, let's say, on Friday would be my guess. I need to take a look at that, obviously. Next up, as mentioned, will be the defensive tackles for the Dallas Cowboys. I'll get into that next Tuesday as we continue to move along, and then next Thursday should be linebacker. So we'll start to kind of finish up the defense the week after that as we move into the secondary. And then before you know it, bang, training camp will be here for the Dallas Cowboys, which is what we are all looking forward to. If you have not yet, please consider subscribing here to the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel. I had to slow myself down here. We are the most subscribed to individual team channel across all of the SB Nation universe. That means that we're cool. But, hopefully it means that you think we're cool, because that's what we want to do more than anything else. My name is RJ Ochoa. As mentioned, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or Threads at RJ Ochoa, on TikTok at RJ.Ochoa. If email is more your thing, you feel like it's 2002, you can send me one, rj.ochoa@sbnation.com. You can also leave a comment down below, and I will do my very best to get to those as well. For now, I'm going to bid you adieu. I'm going to thank Bear and Honey. Honey's under the desk here. Bear's on the couch. They're both very good puppies throughout the course of this video's recording, and I'm thankful to both of them. I'm thankful to you for taking the time to watch and enjoy and interact. That means the world to me and to all of us at Blog on the Boys, my staff. We are so appreciative that you make us a part of your Dallas Cowboys fan experience. For now, let's go ahead and get out of here. I hope you eat something delicious. I hope you eat something nutritious. I hope you watch something amazing on television, and I hope you have a great and wonderful day. With all of that being said, thank you so much for hanging out. It really means the world to me. And yeah, I guess all that's left to say is we'll see you next time.